Hare Krishna. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So we will recap Canto 1, Chapter 2, Text 9. Then we will move on to today's verse. So we ended up with Dharmasya hi apavargasya nartho artha pakalpate narthasya dharma kadasya kamolabhaya hi samartaha. All occupational engagements are certainly meant for ultimate liberation. All occupational engagements are certainly meant for ultimate liberation. They should never be performed for material gain. Therefore, furthermore, according to sages, one who is engaged in the ultimate occupational service should never use material gains to cultivate sense gratification. Very high-fi philosophy. But to the degree we can apply, to that degree, it's nice. So all occupational engagement, so all occupations, software engineering, medical, being an engineer, being a doctor, being a lawyer, being a teacher, all occupations meant for ultimate liberation. That means we should do our occupation in such a way that it leads to the ultimate liberation. So all occupations should be done as an act of bhakti, Krishna consciousness. They should never be performed for material gain. We get material gain, it's a different story. But the purpose is not to perform it so that I get a lot of material gain. The purpose is that it should purify me as I do this, and I get closer to my relationship with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Furthermore, according to sages, one who is engaged in the ultimate occupational service should never use material gain to cultivate sense gratification. Okay. So, we all are engaged in occupational service, different kinds of occupation. Now, how we engage ourselves in service to Krishna or see that occupation as an act of bhakti depends on us. Depends on our creativity sometimes, because sometimes the occupation is so far away from bhakti that it's hard to kind of connect. But it's all in the consciousness. For example, Neera Mataji, being a teacher, it's very easy to connect it to bhakti because she's teaching students. She has the responsibility of showing them how, with knowledge and education and lifestyle and everything. It's very directly, it can be seen as a process of bhakti because a teacher is a person that students look up to and want to be like. And, it's a very divine act. It's a Brahminical act. If somebody's running a shopping mall or a restaurant, that's a little difficult because in a restaurant, there people are eating. The idea is that sense gratification. The more they can gratify their senses, the more they will spend money. Of course, when devotees run restaurants, we don't sell alcohol or meat and things like that, and they still run very, very well. But having said that, sometimes certain occupations are hard to connect, certain occupations are easier to connect. But we should nevertheless connect whatever occupation we are in, unless those occupations directly break the regulative principles. For example, if you're a butcher, there is no way of connecting that to Krishna consciousness. Sorry, don't be a butcher. Don't be in an occupation that you're directly breaking a dharmic principle. For example, if you are brewing alcohol, or you're a butcher, or you're a gambler, those are not the occupations that are that can be connected to Krishna consciousness because they're just adharmic directly. So A, choose your occupation carefully, and B, understand that all occupational engagements are certainly meant for ultimate liberation. So use that occupation, develop qualities, remember Krishna, acknowledge Krishna's gift to you in terms of giving you the ability to perform your occupational duty. And by this act of Krishna consciousness, you will soon get liberated from the material understanding of things, from the material cycle that keeps you bogged down, entangled, right? So all occupational engagements are certainly meant for ultimate liberation. That should be a very important thing we remember as we go through life. Aparna, please do the honors. 1.2.10.
Hare Krishna. 1.2.10. Kamasya nindriya priti labho jivita yavata jivasya tattva jignasa nartho yascheha kama vrihi. Translation. Life's desire should never be directed towards sense gratification. One should desire only a healthy life or self-preservation, since a human being is meant for inquiry about the absolute truth. Nothing else should be the goal of one's work.
So life desire should be never directed towards sense gratification. One should desire only a healthy life or self-preservation. Like, we should take care of our body, mind, to the degree that it can function in a healthy way, in an optimal way, so that it can be used as an instrument in service to Krishna. Just like when we have brass plates and bells and things on the altar, we clean them every day. So we oil maybe the bell, the mridanga, we moisten the mridanga so that they can be used in the optimal possible way for Krishna's service. Same way, the body is a machine. Yantra rudhani maya. In the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says this body is a yantra, is a machine. So it must be oiled properly, it must be fed properly, it must be rested properly, it must be entertained properly. Nitya ahara viharascha, right? Ahara, food, entertainment, and rest. All three should be given to the body so that the body can function optimally, right? If you don't entertain yourself, you're always bhakti, 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 soon you'll get burnt out. Unless you're a pure devotee, of course, where you have taste for Krishna consciousness, then there is no attraction of this world, nothing. It's only Krishna Bhakti, Krishna Katha, Krishna Prasadam, Krishna Vigraha. Everything is Krishna, Krishna, Krishna. But if you're not a pure devotee, then one needs a combination of, a healthy amount of rest, healthy amount of food, healthy amount of entertainment. And by maintaining the body, so that's not sense gratification, right? Sense gratification is excess, that I live to gratify my senses. That becomes something else, where we are moving in the material direction. We are not in the spiritual trajectory. So life's desires should never be directed towards sense gratification. One should desire only a healthy life or self-preservation, since a human being is meant for inquiry to the absolute. So our focus should be asking questions. The human beings are the only animals or the only species that can ask questions out of the 8.4 billion species of life. So unless we're asking questions, we are as good as animals. So it is important that we ask questions. Dharmena hina pashubhi samana. If one doesn't ask questions about dharma, one is as equal on the equal platform as pashu, as an animal. Nothing else should be the goal of one's work. So inquiry into the absolute is the goal of one's life and work. Nothing else should be the goal. Now, that includes self-preservation, but that is not the goal. That is a means to an end. For example, you want to go to Goa to enjoy a vacation. The goal is going to Goa. The goal is not cleaning the car and fueling the car and adding some wings to the car or whatever, decorating the car. The car should be functional so that it takes you to Goa, right? But it's not like your life's mission becomes, making the car look pretty and, doing everything to make sure the car is the focus. The focus is that the car should take us to the destination we want to go to. Same way, the body is that vehicle that can help us take us to the destination that we want to go to. Without this body, we can't. So it's important that we take care of the body. But taking care of the body should not become the goal, is the idea here. That doesn't mean we ignore the body also. Please understand. We don't ignore our body and mind. We take care. We keep it healthy. Mental health and physical health, both are equally important. As a devotee, we should not shy away from going to a psychiatrist if that is the need, right? Devotees can help us to a certain degree, but beyond a certain point, we do need professional help. There have been many instances where devotees have come to me where either there's drug addiction or they're stuck mentally. They're not able to move from a childhood abuse. There are all kinds of issues. And beyond a certain point, I generally say, hey, you know what? I have been trying. This is not helping. Maybe you should get professional help. Not for too long, but just for a little bit so that you can get over this hump, right? And in many cases, that has been a lifesaver, right? Where professional help has helped them identify maybe there is an ADD or there is some disability, some issue with the mental clogging, and there are ways to fix it. And once you fix it, you are back in action. You're no more depressed. You're in a state of optimal performance, right? So it's important that we take care of mental health, physical health. Both are required for us to function in Krishna consciousness. If we don't take care of that, how will we chant? How will we serve? How will we do anything, right? How will we do our occupational duty, which is also bhakti, by the way? How will we take care of a family, which is also bhakti, if we are in that consciousness? So all of that will come to a halt unless we are taking care of ourselves. So it's very important we understand this correctly and not incorrectly. We should not understand this as, oh, nothing is important, only Krishna Bhakti. Well, Krishna Bhakti requires certain tools and instruments, and we must take care of those things. If our home is not, a peaceful place, we will not be able to continue Krishna Bhakti. So we must make sure our family is happy, our environment is peaceful, our body is working, functioning. Only then we can get into proper sadhana and everything. Okay. Yes.
1.2.11.
Oh, I thought you had a question. Sorry. Go ahead.
Vadanti tattvavidastatvam yajnanam adayam brahmati paramatmiti bhagavan iti sabdyate. Translation. Learned transcendentalists who know the absolute truth call this non-dual substance Brahman, Paramatma, or Bhagavan.
So one of the most important verses where the concept of God is being sliced and diced, right? So the absolute truth has been broken down into 3 layers. Brahmeti, Paramatmeti, Bhagavaneti, Shabdate. So Brahman. What is Brahman? Can anyone explain to me?
Which is the impersonal form of Krishna.
Okay. Anyone else? What is Brahman?
It's the effulgence of the Lord.
Effulgence of the Lord. That's Brahma Jyoti. What is Brahman?
Prabhuji, it's influence of Krishna.
It's influence of Krishna. Okay.
And it's like Brahman means as Muslims say Allah means like that,
Yes,
and Paramatma means super soul, and Bhagwan means Krishna.
Krishna.
Right?
Very nice. Exactly. So Brahman is, in one sense, means spiritual. Brahman is also the aspect of God, which is impersonal, all-pervading aspect. The impersonal aspect of God. What is that impersonal aspect? The omnipresence of God. We say God is everywhere. So that omnipresence idea of God, the Allah idea of God, is Brahman. Then comes Paramatma, which is the localized presence of God. So we say, God is in my heart, and it is true. Krishna says, Riddeshe Arjuna Tishtati, I am in the heart region. That means I'm in the consciousness of all, wherever the consciousness region is, that's where I am, as Paramatma. Also, as localized, he's smaller than the smallest atom. So in every atom, Krishna is present in the form of Paramatma, Paramanu, Paramatma. Paramanu means atom. By the way, that word was coined in the Vedic system. We knew about atoms before this modern science got to know about atoms, right? So in Paramanu, if you see the book called Science of Self-Realization, you see Lord Narayan standing there, super soul form, with electrons hovering around like this, right? A very beautiful depiction of where modern science and Vedic science comes together. So we know about the neutron, proton, electron, but what we don't know is Paramatma is also there in super soul form. So in every part of this universe, every atom of this universe, Paramatma is present. Krishna is present in Paramatma form. And then Bhagavan iti shabdate. Bhagavan is that aspect of God where he is a person, the personality of Godhead that we call Govinda, that we call Sham Sundar, that we call Tirupati, that personality who has likes and dislikes. As Paramatma, he is neutral. He doesn't take sides. He simply watches. He's simply present as a form of God. He doesn't, interact as much. But as Govinda, he's interacting, he's playing, he reciprocates to our prayers. There is reciprocity. So another way of understanding is Brahman. So God, the divine aspect, spiritual aspect, is made up of three things: Sat, Chit, Ananda. Sat, as in that which is eternal, the eternality of God. So God is never born, God never dies. Soul is never born, soul never dies. Right? So Sat feature is depicted in Brahma Jyoti, in Brahman form. In super soul form, there is Sat and Chit. Chit means consciousness. So there's eternality and consciousness that is in the form of super soul. Then there is Sat, Chit, Ananda. Ananda comes when there is interaction between two conscious beings. So when God interacts with living entities, there is Ananda. And the only form in which he interacts with living entities is the Bhagavan form. That's why Sri Bhagavanu Vacha in Bhagavad Gita, everywhere where Krishna speaks, Vyasadeva refers to Sri Bhagavanu Vacha. And when we start the Bhagavad Gita, we say Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Bhagavate as in God Vasudev. Right? So it's important to understand the Bhagavan aspect is where all the juice and nourishment is. So another way of going about looking at this is when you are a Gyan Yogi, you are looking. So you're looking for Paramatma. Your highest realization is Paramatma. Jnana and Ashtanga both. But when you're a Bhakti Yogi, your highest goal is Bhagavan, because bhakti can be experienced through exchange, devotional service. You're serving, Krishna wants to serve you back, he was reciprocating. That is Bhagavan. So in Bhakti Yoga, our focus is on Bhagavan, where we put all our hearts and effort into. That's why deity worship, Radha Madhava, Bhagavan form, right? And you will see in other sampradayas, there's more focus on super soul, Paramatma, this, that. But with Paramatma, there is no childhood, baby form. There is no, it's wonderful. Please don't get me wrong. It's the same personality of Godhead. It's just the intimacy is a lot more when you are with Bhagavan in his personal form. Yes, Pradeep Prabhu, please.
Prabhuji, in Paramatma form as well, super soul also interacts, isn't it? Or
Yes, when you start interacting with super soul as Bhagavan, as super soul, he is present in everyone's heart, but he is only witnessing your karma, so your reactions can be given. He is taking care of your involuntary, aspects, digesting food, beating the heart, making sure the eyes are working, all of those things. Supercomputer part is taken care of by Paramatma. But as devotees, as we turn into devotees, then super soul interacts as Bhagavan. Yes.
so, what is the self-talk? Self-talk is interacting with super soul or
Self-talk is interacting with our mind.
mind?
Super soul interaction is when it's not self-talk. Ashuna, come. You're all wit. So self-talk is talking with the mind, talking with myself. But super soul is where inspiration comes from. Just like you sent your video where you and your son, just drove past and this tree fell, right? So super soul was guiding you to drive past, so the tree can fall right after that. You was protected. Sometimes we don't know why. There is something within that's telling us to not do certain things, and later on we find out, oh, if I had done it, something bad would happen. Inspiration strikes. You're trying to solve a problem, nothing happening, but suddenly there is inspiration, and boom, you're able to solve the problem. Super soul. So like that, it's very clearly an inner voice coming from external entity. That is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Does it answer your question?
Right.
The
Yes,
more you
Prabhuji,
chant
yes.
Hare Krishna, the more you'll be able to understand the difference between the mind and super soul. Initially, it's all clumped up together, and we can't tell if it is super soul or the mind. But with clarity of consciousness, we can eventually appreciate, this is super soul inspiring. I should listen.
If I say one statement that whenever there is a self-talk related to me and my, then it's in between me and mind, right? And whenever there is selflessness in the talk, that is with super soul. Can we distinguish like that?
Not necessarily. If the self-talk could be, go in this direction. Like Radhanath Maharaj, Radhanath Swami, he's a famous sannyasi in ISKCON. When he went for a Europe trip with his friends. They all got their little bit of savings together, and then from there, all friends went different direction. And Radhanath Maharaj was like, I want to explore spirituality. So they were on a hill somewhere in Europe, he and his best friend, and there was self-talk. And Radhanath Maharaj kept on, getting this urge to go to India. And his friend was also having a meditation moment, and he was getting this urge to go to Israel. So when they talked to each other, because they were Jewish, the friend and the Radhanath Maharaj was like, hey, I got this inspiration. I also got an inspiration. What was your inspiration? My inspiration is like, go to Israel. And Radhanath Maharaj was like, my inspiration is go to India. And they both went separate ways. So super soul, when that interaction, it's hard to explain unless you have experience, but that's a different kind of experience. But self-talk, it's generally mental. Maybe there is super soul intervening. You can't tell, right? maybe there is some inspiration from Super Soul that is indulging in the self-talk, perhaps.
Right, Raj. Okay.
I know I didn't answer your question very well, but these are things can't be explained through words, because
Yes,
these are things
that should be experienced actually.
yes, it should be experienced. Only then you will, now I know what you meant. Like, I'll tell you, in my life, I would hear Super Soul, right? And okay, fine. My mentor would say, and I would acknowledge, okay, that was Super Soul's inspiration, fine. But then over a period of time, there's a pattern. And there's a subtle pattern. Very subtly, something from within would come. And many times I was like, oh, there was inspiration from Super Soul, but I ignored it. And you learn to not ignore it, not ignore it, not ignore it. And eventually start acknowledging, that's Super Soul speaking. Oh, must do it. There's a bad feeling. Whatever, that's just. No, let's hold on to that thought. Why is that bad feeling coming? Where is it coming from? Is it my preconceived notion? Or is it something else? Is it Super Soul? Right? Again, you don't know. So you interact with somebody, you share that with somebody you trust spiritually, a little bit more advanced, and you get a validation that must be Super Soul.
Right, Raj. Thank you.
Sure. Aparna, you had your hands raised?
Yes, Prabhuji, it was not a question, but I was just thinking so profoundly and contemplating on the importance of this like human life, because whatever we are discussing, right, the super soul, or like how important it is for the Atma to be in a human form of life to actually realize all this. Because even the karma yoga or bhakti yoga, like, an soul or an Atma is there in every jiva, right? But we as humans have that intelligence in this life, and to really experience this and do, like, perform karma yoga, so that we can burn our past karmas. Like, it's like an opportunity, what I feel like. And that's where the previous verse, right, the 1.2.10, where we were discussing about the importance of self-care, of taking care of this machine in which our Atma is there, because this is an opportunity. And the more we can live in this life, to do more, move towards that process, to burn karma and, move towards bhakti. I think it will not be possible if we were born as a bacteria or any other being, because we don't have that intelligence. So I was just sharing and thinking upon it, like how important it is to be in a human form of life to experience
Absolutely.
this bhakti yoga.
Yes, it's a good reminder. Thank you for sharing. Eating, sleeping, mating, defending. That is what animals do, and they can't do anything beyond that, but we can. And unless we do that, we are living animal life. All right. Okay. Anything else? Any other questions? Oh, yeah, I think Prayash had his hands raised. Prayash, please go ahead.
Guruji, I was thinking, like, sometimes we have this inner thought, like, and personally, sometimes have inner thoughts that are come out to very right most of the times,
Come out.
and about certain things. For example, I just know certain things, right? About let's say something is going to happen, and just know it. For example, for my mother, I knew that she is going to be like she's going to be
When you had the last phone call, you knew this was the last time you're talking to her.
exactly when she I mean when it was not the time when she called, but when I had a conversation, I just knew, right? And that is with multiple other I cannot even like count how many occurrences are there when I just know certain things. So my question to you is, like, how do I know which intuition is coming from, let's say, super soul, and which is coming from the mind and the
That's what I
preconceived notion?
said. It is not possible to use material words to explain divine intervention. It is something you have to experience yourself. Then you will get that aha moment. The way to experience it is to refine your antenna, to refine your consciousness with the holy name of chanting. The more focused you chant, the more the mind understands to focus. With a focused mind, your antenna is ready to distinguish between the two. Without the focus, you don't have the antenna to distinguish between the two. It's blurry noise, right? With the antennas, with the radio, I don't know, maybe radio is too old for you guys, but with the radio, you can tune it so it perfectly aligns with the right frequency, and you can hear the clear program, without any. But if you slowly move it, you'll have hazy noise. So it's same way that way. I can't through words talk about something that is not this worldly, right? It is something you have to experience, and with chanting Hare Krishna, slowly you'll be able to tell, see the pattern. Krishna will guide you. This is me talking to you. Pay attention, and you will know.
Yeah, initially it was like I couldn't recognize, even like you could not distinguish. But then I don't know if you remember, I had the same conversation with you some time back, and you said like if you keep chanting, it will be more clearer, and it is clearer now. But I feel like it is still not 100% corrected because I'm not a pure devotee yet. So yeah, we're all aspiring. So I mean, it's getting to there, but it's not there. So thank you for providing, this knowledge of our Gita.
See, that's the beauty of Krishna consciousness. It is like, how about knowing a VIP up close and personal? People kind of like, oh, wow, I'm close to this minister or this big leader, whatever. Here, through bhakti, we are getting up close and personal with Krishna, where he not only interacts in your life, helps you through, he's also talking to you. He's having, he's inspiring you. He's pulling you, he's stopping things from happening to you. You can see it. He's helping you go against the urges of the mind and senses, right? So many ways Krishna is interacting with us. So it's a very intimate process of love with Krishna. And so it's not just there is, I'm waiting when I'll become a pure devotee and then I'll understand these things. The journey itself is so joyful because throughout the journey, Krishna is present with us, you know, uh, guiding us, protecting us, sustaining us, inspiring us, correcting us. He is involved in the process personally.
The journey is more beautiful. Right?
Everything is, right? Madhuram, Madhuram, Madhuram. The journey is beautiful. The goal is beautiful. The personality, who is the object of our love, is very beautiful. Every part of it is sweet. So there's no reason to not be a bhakti yogi, right? All
I
right.
have a question.
Yes.
So, I mean, happiness starts from gratefulness. Like when
You're happy
I
to what?
initially, happiness starts from gratefulness, right?
Happiness starts from knowledge. Gratefulness helps, it's a tool, but happiness comes when there is knowledge of who you are, who God is, and how you're connected. Ignorance leads to fearfulness. When you don't know, you're lost. You don't know where you're going. But happiness starts when there is knowledge about your source. And with that knowledge, you connect. And when the connection happens, yoga, that's where happiness happens.
Yes, Prabhuji. So my question was like initially, you told me to see Krishna's hand in every aspect in the lives, right? And I started, being grateful for all the things that I see Krishna's touch in, and I feel really grateful at the moment, right? But it is like so much that I cannot keep count, right? So like, is it like bad? Like I don't like recall all the things that happen, or like it's okay to just be grateful for the things that happen, or like how do you approach? Like, do you remember every single thing that happened because of Krishna, or like you said, you appreciate it and be grateful and say, okay, Krishna.
Could you rephrase your question in a shorter format?
So do you keep count of the Krishna interacting with your life other than appreciating and being grateful at the moment?
Oh, I don't know. I mean, I personally don't keep count as such, because mercy is always flowing. Definitely, the moment I recognize it, there is tremendous amount of gratitude, sharing of heart, prayer, words of appreciation that goes to the Supreme Lord, but not as in keeping count or anything like that. Um, of course, there are phenomenal moments in life that I kind of pin it to my heart. And when faith breaking situations come, those are the moments that remind me, no, Krishna is very present. Krishna loves me. Krishna is not judgmental. Krishna is not cruel. So if this is happening, he has a purpose. Let me go with his direction rather than trying to fight it out, thinking Krishna is against me. Krishna is not against me. He is more pro me than I am. I might be my own enemy. Krishna can't be. So those are moments that we put in our heart, and when Maya tests us, we bring out those moments from our box, to a toolbox of gratitude, and allow those to bring us back to the right consciousness. But I can't say that I keep account of those things. I definitely try to remember that this is a moment to cherish. That wow, Krishna is so present. He was just here.
Thank you. Maya is very strong.
Sorry,
Maya is very strong.
Maya is very strong, and that's where you hold on to Krishna's lotus feet, so that Maya doesn't use her strength on you. Her boss is personally involved. All right. We'll move on to the next verse unless anybody has any questions. So, Brahmeti, Paramatmeti, Bhagavaniti, Shabdate. We are clear on Brahman, Paramatma, and Bhagavan. I can go on speaking about it for hours and hours and hours, because each one it's about God. I mean, imagine. But I wanted to give you a basic understanding and move on, because this is the first time we're all studying Bhagavatam. So I just want to kind of give you the essence and move on rather than going deep. Bhagavatam is very deep. It can take you 8 years to study the Bhagavatam. So anyway, 1.2.12. Go ahead, Aparna.
Yes. तच्छत्राधनामुनयो ज्ञानवैराग्ययुक्तया पाश्यन्त्यात्मनि चात्मनं भक्तया श्रुतं गृहत्या. Translation. The seriously inquisitive student or sage, well equipped with knowledge and detachment, realizes that absolute truth by rendering devotional service in terms of what he has heard from the Vedanta Shruti.
Very good. The seriously inquisitive student. So there are people who ask questions just for the sake of asking, and then there are students who ask questions for the sake of learning. So the seriously inquisitive student or sage, well equipped with the knowledge and detachment. See, knowledge and detachment, Gyan, Vairagya always goes together. In Bhagavad Gita, multiple times we have seen Jnana, Vairagya, Jnana, Vairagya. Why? Knowledge and attachment is like, if you have knowledge, how can you be attached? Right? It's like that. Now, we're not talking about material knowledge, because material knowledge is about attachment. My, I and mine. Spiritual knowledge is acknowledging everything is Krishna's. Everything is temporary. Things can be taken away. So the knowledge, jnana, and vairagya go hand in hand. So student empowered by knowledge and vairagya, such a person realizes that absolute truth. So such a person can understand Brahmeti, Paramatmeti, Bhagavaniti, Shabdate by rendering devotional service. By just acting in bhakti, one can acquire knowledge. Right? We think knowledge, okay, we have to study, memorize, right? No Sanskrit. Many people tell me, oh, I'm going to learn Sanskrit first, then I'm going to read the Gita so that I can understand it. I'm like, the work has been done for you. Srila Prabhupada has translated word for word. You don't have to learn Sanskrit. What you need to do is see it as a bhakti exercise, eagerness to learn about Krishna. And that eagerness is the price we pay for the mercy to come in. And when mercy comes in, what form does mercy come in? The mercy comes in the form of Krishna's devotees. Krishna Prasad comes in many forms. Devotees are also Prasad, right? Prasad is also, food is also Prasad. Krishna's clothes are also Prasad. Flowers are also Prasad. So when Krishna's mercy comes in the form of devotees, then we get devotee association. We get the opportunity to serve the devotee of the Lord. And thereby further realizations happen. I have been extremely fortunate to be in close contacts with my mentor. Whenever I would get a chance to be in the same car with my mentor, I would pounce at that opportunity. And just by hearing him talk to his son, telling stories about Krishna, just hearing him comment on anything around, right? I have learned everything in Krishna consciousness just by associating with my mentor, just by watching him deal with other people. And once I learned how to drive, I would drive him to places, right? Just for that great association that, how he prepares, how he thinks, what he speaks on the phone. And he knows everything he's doing is under strict supervision, when I'm watching every damn thing he's doing. And that has given me so much understanding that till today, he and I are 18,000 miles away. But whatever I am doing, before acting, I think, what would he do in this situation? And some situation would pop up. And I was like, okay, I should not lose my car because he wouldn't. Right? Not saying I can exactly do like him, but to whatever 1%, 2% I have imbibed of his good qualities, that is there. And that is honestly the reason why Gurukuls exist. Because in a Gurukul environment, you're living with the teacher and his wife. You're learning from not only what he's speaking, but what he's doing. So again, I had the great opportunity of living with my mentor and his wife and his son, and learning from how he treats his wife, treats his son, his neighbors, and everything else. And then when I had the opportunity, started earning, and we got Krishna House, where I didn't stay in this fancy house by myself, but I invited students to come live with me. And while they're hearing Philosophy Friday, like what we call in Chicago is Krishna Talks. So what they learn from Krishna Talk is so much more they learn by staying in Krishna House, where from Mangal Arati to Shayan Arati, there is Bhakti Talk, Prabhupada stories, examples, jokes, everything is Krishna conscious. And it's a complete environment where there is that sense of Vrindavan. You're practically in Vrindavan, although you're in Chicago. Many devotees, many students have said, this is like an oasis. You come here stressed. The vibe is such that you just go home, like a completely nourished, not only from the prashadam, but also from the hearing, the association, the energy that is there, right? It's amazing. I'll tell a story. This is a real story. In Kansas City, which is a place in US, there was in a devotee couple's house, there was a kirtan festival. So a lot of wonderful sannyasis and Prabhupada disciples were invited, and there was roaring kirtan happening. So after devotees went, the place was a little unclean. So a maid was called to clean up the place. And this maid was Polish. Generally, maids in the US are Polish, right? So she was a Polish lady who spoke very brittle English. And she had never heard the holy name of Krishna. But as she was cleaning up the place, she started humming the chanting that was going on the night before. And when the devotee couple, came down to see, they heard her sing Hare Krishna. And in that tune that was being sung the night before. And they were very surprised because she was there for the Kirtan Fest. And they asked, how did you know this Mahamantra? She's like, I don't know. Somehow it's just in the air. It seems like, it's just coming to me naturally, and I can't stop myself from singing. This I don't know what these words even mean, but I can't stop myself from singing. And that's because the whole vibe, the ether, the bricks, the wall, everything has been spiritualized with the holy name. That somebody who comes in that spot, their antenna, no matter how rusty it might be, is picking on that vibe, right? You go to a haunted house, you will feel that sense of cold, negative energy. You go to a devotee's house, you'll feel that sense of warmth, sense of joy. In my place in Kolkata and Baliganj, many people who have come in, they say, I want to just come just to feel this vibe, because somehow this place has that positive energy. Just being here, it feels good. Now, mind you, when we moved into this place, the maid servants would not want to work at my place, because it was widely known as that apartment being haunted, because there has been a couple of deaths in that place. And when I came in, I personally experienced haunted experiences there in the particular room. And I just chanted Hare Krishna. That's all I knew. And then invited Guru Maharaj to come. And by the merciful dust of a pure devotee, there was never again an incident of haunted nature or anything paranormal, right? Rather, the place became a holy place by the dust of the pure devotee. And multiple people have mentioned that by coming there, they feel this positive vibe, the sense of relief. So that's it might not be something that we can tangibly put under a microscope and explain, right? Or like Ghostbusters have EMF meters and whatever, but it is something that the human mind innately has the ability to fine tune, tune in and experience it. So living with the teacher, or living with in an environment that is spiritual, it is very, very powerful, where the Gurukul environment, or like I was saying, the Krishna house environment, or just being with a roommate who's a devotee, can be very uplifting in our consciousness. So the seriously inquisitive student or sage, well equipped with knowledge and detachment, realizes that absolute truth by rendering devotional service in terms of what he has heard from Vedanta Shruti. So with what we have heard, to the degree we have realization, we serve a wonderful devotee and we get more and more realizations. How to attain knowledge about Krishna consciousness? Serve the devotees. Yes, Yogesh Prabhu.
Prabhuji, this actually reminds me of chapter 7 in Bhagavad Gita, where Krishna discusses 4 types of people who come to me. The one who's needy, one who is going through difficulties, the other one who's inquisitive, and the one who is who specifically comes to me for knowledge. So I was just recollecting them. And Prabhuji, you had also mentioned that inviting Guru Maharaj over to your house actually sanctified the house. So I have a question. I mean, even before you would have gone or stayed at that house, you would have invited the deities themselves, right? So does that not already sanctify the place, or what is the significance in bringing a devotee over than the deity itself?
Well, I don't know how to answer this without being careful how I say it. So the deities certainly have their potency, but it also is reciprocal to our potency of our prayer, how deeply our devotional service is. To that degree, the deity is reciprocal. Like Tulsi Maharani is a very nice barometer to understand this. Initially, in that haunted place, Tulsi Maharani just would die. They just, we couldn't keep them alive for whatever we did. But now, if you see, every window we have tulsis. The tulsis are having baby tulsis. they're growing, they're lush, and it's absolutely wonderful. So it is also the devotees who are staying there, how strongly are they connecting with the deities, right? And as you go in your Krishna consciousness, things move. Now, having said that, New York Temple, there was a very severe case of hauntedness, where a ghost actually pushed somebody from, I think, fourth floor, and the person fell and died. There, because it used to be a Masonic temple, just like Chicago Temple. It used to be a Masonic temple. And in Masonic temples like Tantra, right, they use bones and all kinds of things, very negative stuff, and there is hauntedness. So same way in Chicago Temple, we used to have an attic that was haunted. Kishore is right there, the Supreme Lord in their most beautiful form. But there were very, very strong paranormal presence. So what did we do? We cleaned up the whole place, the attic, which nobody would dare to go to. We went in there, we cleaned up the whole place. We put Tulsi Maharani in there. We put lights in there for the growth of Tulsi Maharani, because in America, as you know, sunlight is very difficult to get. The amount of intensity that Tulsi Maharani requires. So the whole place became a Tulsi forest, and no more problems, no more issues. It's not a matter of, oh, but Krishna's deity is there, but Krishna's devotee comes in. It's Krishna's devotees are empowered with that auspiciousness. They bring that with them, right? Otherwise, every household has deities and pictures of the Lord and everything else. Why are we so eager to get the dust from the lotus feet of a devotee? Why do we invite sadhus? Why a grihastha dharma means inviting sadhus and feeding them? Why is that important? Because of this. Through devotees, Krishna eats. Through devotees, we gain knowledge by serving devotees. So serving devotees is a very important principle, because devotees bring Krishna more strongly in the picture than we might with our prayers, reciprocation, etc., etc. It can get a little complex. Forgive me if I'm not going too deep into it, but I hope I've answered your question.
Yes, Project.
Okay. Prayers, Prabhu.
So you mentioned earlier that Prabhupada used to get the place haunted houses for
Yes.
cheap, and then do feasts, and then it will be like easy temple making. Not easy, but it will be very simple process. And same thing you said that you got your mentor to come into your house, and the place got sanctified. Right? So my question to you is like, do the spirits get liberated, or they leave the place because it's so positive?
They definitely get benefited. They get pacified. Why do the spirits cause trouble? Because they themselves are in pain. So when you read Srimad Bhagavatam or chant the holy name, or a pure devotee just arrives at the spot, the ghosts or the negative, who are suffering because of the bad karma, by that association, by the hearing process, get purified. Doesn't mean they get liberated. That might take a little time. Like there is a story about a ghost who was stuck in a tree, and he would cause a lot of trouble. And then a sage came, and sage said, "Why are you causing trouble to the villagers?" And he said, "Because I myself am in trouble. And please, if you're a sage, help me out. Get me out of this ghost situation." He said, "The only way I know is Bhagavatam recitation." He said, "Okay, so please do the needful." The sage said, "But promise me that once, you will listen to the Bhagavatam carefully." He said, "Yes, I will." So the sage studied the Bhagavatam. He invited all the local villagers. They all recited the Bhagavatam together, and Bhagavat Saptaha happened. And after that, one of the branches of the tree broke, and the ghost left that place. And he, while he was leaving, he appreciated, shared his gratitude for giving him mukti from that situation. So there are many such instances and stories. Not necessarily they get mukti, like liberation all the way to Godhead, but definitely they get mukti from that ghost situation. And they might be born in a devotee family or a wonderful family and then cultivate Krishna consciousness, have the opportunity at least to do so. Yeah.
Yes, please. Wonderful.
Thank you very much. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Hare Krishna. See you next Friday.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare
Hare
Krishna.
Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.